SIDS, or sudden infant death syndrome, is every parent's worst nightmare, particularly because so little is known about the cause. But research published today in the journal Pediatrics reveals the risk factor varies depending on the child's age. The findings show that infants 4 months and younger are most at risk if they sleep with others, whether it's a parent, sibling, or even a pet. For babies 4 months to 1 year, rolling into objects in the crib, things like blankets or stuffed animals, poses the biggest risk for death. These new findings come one day after the Boston Globe published a report by our partners at the New England Center for Investigative Reporting about the rate of sudden, unexpected infant death syndrome in Massachusetts and the disproportionate number of infant deaths in families under the supervision of the Department of Children and Families. Here to discuss the report is Gail Geringer. She is the Massachusetts child advocate and a former juvenile court judge, and we're so glad that you could be with us today.
Thank you for having me.
What I want to do, a lot of people are familiar with the term SIDS, but I don't know if they know sudden unexpected infant death syndrome. So maybe you could explain what the two are and how they differ.
Okay. Sudden unexpected infant death syndrome, or SUID, really is a description. It's a situation where a child has died, an infant has died under unexpected circumstances. The term SIDS is a diagnostic term, and it's arrived at after complete investigation of the crime scene, the death scene, looking at various medical records and also autopsy reports. So SUID is a much broader class than SIDS.
So SIDS sort of falls underneath that umbrella, if you will.
Yes.
These statistics that we have learned about are somewhat shocking. The rate for sudden unexpected infant death is twice that of children in the average population in this state. Those children are children who are under the supervision of state social workers. The twice deaths, they're under that umbrella. Talk to me a little bit about why these children who are under the umbrella of DCF are more at risk.
Well, I think it's important to realize that SUID can affect any family. It's not a matter of being involved with a state agency. Any family is susceptible to this tragic event. And I think that the article, while it did a good job of bringing the issue to the attention of the public, I think that we're still working with data, still trying to really understand what the data actually says. And I think what it probably says is that there are families who have more risk factors for a sudden unexplained infant death, such as co-sleeping, such as situations of substance abuse, whether that be prescription medications or alcohol, that might make a parent more drowsy and less responsive to an infant. So I think that the focus really should be on educating all of the public about the risks of sleep patterns, sleep situations, so that we can give consistent messaging about the best, safest way for our babies to sleep.
Well, let's talk about that, because there's been some controversy when it comes to different campaigns that have talked about that issue, because there are different trains of thought when it comes to sleeping in the bed with mom and dad.
You're talking to a person who had 3 children in 17 months, and I know how desperate people are to get a baby comforted, get a baby just back to sleep, and back to sleep is what the term really means. Infants should be put to sleep on their backs, in their own space, without all the cuddlies that we're tempted to give them, because those are the kinds of things that pose, what we do know is most SUID deaths occur in these unsafe sleep situations. And so we need to do everything we can to give consistent messages about babies having their own space, in their own crib or bassinet, not co-sleeping, not having pets, not having stuffed animals, blankets rolled up. Because if we think about it, the infant can't move very much yet.
Right.
So
can't get away from things that might get to their faces.
Right.
Let me go back, though, to a couple of statistics that came out in this report. The general population of infants that's under the age of 1, there is a 10% death rate from this kind of thing, whereas children who are in DCF care, there's a 30% death rate. First off, would you explain to everyone, what is DCF? Not necessarily care, but under their supervision. Can you explain what that is?
I think the statistics that they were using was really just an open DCF case.
Okay.
That there had been a report of abuse and neglect that had been supported, and that DCF was in some way involved with the family. Not that the family was out of the home, but that the family was getting services, help from DCF.
So maybe these would be children who would be considered at risk?
Well, I think that yes, in the sense that DCF has screened in these cases and feels that this is a family that could benefit from services.
And services, what kind of services?
All kinds of services, including initially safe sleep information. There's a new campaign, a Welcome Baby campaign, that DCF has instituted, bringing a wonderful bag full of information and useful items for new moms and dads. And part of that is including a lot of information about safe sleep.
So what I hear you saying is these are maybe families who could use more education?
Absolutely, and it isn't just a DCF function. I think it's so important that we all get on the same page, whether it's the obstetrician, whether it's the hospital in the birthing situation, visiting nurses. Everyone needs to be made aware, anyone caring for children, in contact with children, needs to be made aware that the safest place for a child, baby, is on her back.
And do you think there's anything more that the state can do to educate people more readily and to try to protect some of these at-risk children?
And all children. I think that they are actually doing something and have been doing something for years. There's a new group that's been formed by HHS, Executive Office of Health and Human Services, DCF, DPH, I shouldn't use acronyms.
Right.
Early Education and Care. Getting everyone on board, and I believe there will be rolling out a very important educational campaign for all of us.
Good. Gail, we'll look for that. Gail, thank you very, very much. A very important subject.